I love Airbnb, but I'm not a big fan of Airbnb. I'm speaking like a true crazy guy right now. Mark,
let's just say for whatever reason, your Airbnb account gets shut down. If you just rely on Airbnb, you're screwed because you've literally got to start all over again.
I think this is a matter of when. That's my truthful opinion. It's going to happen to a certain degree sometime.
It's not just in America, it's not just in Canada, it's in the UK as well, it's in the whole of Europe and Australia. It's happening all around.
Right now, a lot of hosts are in a really difficult situation because they've been relying on Airbnb. And this is something that you've been preaching, that I've been talking about for years, and now people are having to wake up and smell the coffee. Mark, Mr. Boosley, introduce yourself right now and we'll dive into this whole subject, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for having me. So yeah, my name is Mark Simpson, founder of Boosley. And my elevator pitch is that we give hosts the tools, the tactics, the training, but the confidence to grow their hospitality business without relying on Airbnb, Booking.com and Vrbo.
I love that, man. It's short and sweet and simple. And you bring something up that right now, a lot of hosts are in a really, really difficult situation because they've been relying on Airbnb, and we've all seen the headlines. Dallas just shut down, right? Short-term rentals. You can't operate short-term rentals anymore. So there's a lot of municipalities and cities that are running into this, and this is something that you've been preaching, that I've been talking about for years, and now people are having to wake up and smell the coffee, right? Mark, like, what's your thoughts on the whole bans and everything happening? It's going to continue to happen, by the way.
Yeah, well, it's like a domino effect, and you don't have to look too hard to see who's running it. And you can see who's forcing it. All you have to do is just dig a little bit behind the scenes to look. That is the hotels that are obviously going through all of this. And it's not just in America, it's not just in Canada, it's in the UK as well. It's in the whole of Europe and Australia. It's happening all around. And I think what will happen is that there will be regulations put in place. There will be legislation put in place, but it's not to affect the people like you and I. It's not to affect the people that are watching this podcast. It's not to affect the people that are part of like your communities, etc. It's to shake out the bottom enders, the ones that literally do this to make a quick buck, that don't worry about hospitality, that don't care about people that are putting lives at risk. And that is where all the negative press has come from. And that really is what annoys a lot of small hotel owners, because when I come from a hotel background, like a very small hotel, 14-bedroom guest house, sort of a hotel background. And before we could even open, we had to go through all of these fire safety hazards. We had to do all of the nonsense just to open the doors, where short-term rental owners or Airbnb owners, whatever you want to call yourselves, they don't have to do. I could right now, if I wanted to, take a couple of pictures of a house over there that I could rent, and I could put it on Airbnb and start a business up on Monday, like literally the next day, if I wanted to. There's no rules and regulations that you have to bounce through for a large majority of the world. So that is what's going to happen, and that is what is happening right now.
Speaking of that, Mark, I just read in the New York Times, I'm actually flipping my phone open right now because I want to make sure I got this right. Somebody in New York ended up staying in a bathroom, and you guys can go out, check this out, type in New York bathroom. A guy booked an Airbnb property. He was a professor at New York University, was here for 3 months, booked a midterm rental that was a bathroom. Literally, there was a crapper right next door to the bed. It's literally a bathroom, just like a 300 square foot bathroom. And that's what he booked for 3 months. And when you talk about operators that are, no pun intended, shitty, that's exactly what you're going to get, is somebody that's just trying to make a quick dollar, that is not thinking about this professionally. So in a way, just like you mentioned, a lot of these regulations that are coming are to weed out a lot of the crappy people that are in this space. Again, not another pun intended. But you're speaking truth right now. And I think that the professional operators and the one-off guys that want to make money or gals that want to make money, there's a clear separation between the two. And now more than ever, any headline that hits the news, Airbnb, short-term rental operators, like that becomes a thing. And I've watched cities in my market and even surrounding where, say, somebody gets stabbed or somebody gets, a fight or something happens, that negativity will then go to city council, create this big ol' thing, because at the end of the day, professional operators aren't watching their cameras. They're not paying attention. I mean, these are professional operators. That's what we do.
Yeah.
I know you do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what you're talking about, right, Mark?
110%. And, it's funny. It's not, has anybody ever been to Vegas? In a hotel, how many accidents, fights, things go on, but no one ever, it never gets into the news, right? It's because it's and this happens everywhere. It's just because of the negativity around, let's just say Airbnb, because of verbiage this industry. That's where all of this is stemmed from. But you just have to like peel it back a little bit to see who's been forcing it, who's been pushing it. And, you know, at the end of the day, all of this isn't going to be a bad thing. There is going to come on the other side where there will be less people in the market. So a massive complaint at the start of 2023 was, oh, there's so many people in my market. There's so many hosts in this area. This will weed out a lot of people. And what you'll find is that, again, I keep saying this, and I've said this so many times this year, the cream will always rise to the top. And if this will what happen. And if you are a good host, if you've got good properties, if you offer a great experience, and you are creating super fans out of your guests, of your customers, then you will stand the test of time forever and ever and ever. This isn't going to affect you. It's going to affect the people that have got average properties, who are average hosts, who are offering average experiences and are forgettable.
Yeah, dude, I love that. You know, one of the things that I was just thinking about as we were talking about this, I started my first short-term rental in 2016. And dude, I went to Hobby Lobby and bought all farmhouse stuff from like Joanna Gaines was super popular, right? Back then.
Yeah.
And I just littered the house with farmhouse stuff and my property's killed. If I had that same decor up right now, like my property wouldn't book. Like before, back in the day, you used to have 4 walls, a TV, and a window, and your place would kill. And that's not the case anymore.
Yeah.
Like it's just not.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
This is something that I've heard you say before, and I really, really love it. You've mentioned that, you know, we don't necessarily have our own business. We've built our businesses on somebody else's land, and that land being Brian Chesky's. Like, so we're actually, this is quoting from you.
Yeah.
We're essentially creating a business for him, and he's the owner of us. We're employees of him, basically.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Is that how you look at it?
Yeah. So I got on stage at Nashville in 2022, and there was 1,000 people in front of me, and I got everybody to stand up. And I said, if stay standing if over 80% of your bookings are coming from one source, which is Airbnb. And I said to him, listen, you're not going to like me for saying this, but it needs to be said. You aren't business owners, you are employees, and Brian Chesky is your boss. And I got, obviously that had a big reaction, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And I said that the problem is that you all walk around saying, I'm staying in an Airbnb. You're all walking around saying, I'm an Airbnb business owner. So you are literally branding somebody else's business. So when somebody leaves your property and they go back to their, town and, they're having a coffee with a friend group and one of the friends goes, oh, so where did you stay when you went to Nashville? And they go, oh, I just stayed in some Airbnb. Like that, you are literally the problem, because at no point in this whole process have you tried to brand your own business. You haven't tried to say, oh, well, this is who we are. This is our brand. This is our business. And this is what we do. We are short-term rental owners. And this is a massive problem. And it's not just in America. It's not just in Canada. It's all over the world that I see this. And this is literally why, I do what I do. This is why I've been doing it for 7 years now, is to sort of re-educate the host. Because my mission is to help 1 million hosts, re-educate 1 million hosts. Because if I can get 1 million hosts to get re-educated, and if they in turn can educate all of their guests, then we actually start to create a movement. And the ultimate goal is to get the attention of Airbnb. It's to get the attention of Booking.com. It's to get the attention of the Expedia group, and to show that we do know what we're talking about. This is a big thing with them, is that there was a podcast, the Sway podcast, SWAY, and it was with Brian Chesky. It was in back end of 2022, I believe. And on that podcast, the interviewer, she's called Cara, and it was a fantastic interview. And she said, what would you say if to the fact that your Airbnb host would want to take their own direct booking? She asked that to him, and he dismissed it. He said, oh, no, we don't want to do that. They don't want to have to worry about marketing their business. They don't want to have to worry about all the X, Y, and Z. So that they are dismissing it. And it's the same story with Booking.com, and it's the same story with the Expedia group. They're a little bit more sympathetic to it. They understand that, as soon as a guest walks in your property, that if they were to ever come back again, you should be remarketing them. You should be, doing all the things that you should be doing to get them to stay with you directly. But they doubt that the hosts know what they're doing. And that is like fuel to my fire, because I know how it's done, because I'm proof of it. I've been doing it since 2011 with our family business. And I've now shown over, we've got 2,000 clients at Boostly right now. So we're showing them, and all the other people that we've touched upon and affected on either side as well, within the Facebook groups and doing podcasts and webinars and stuff. So we can do this 100%. The problem is that we still walk around saying, I'm an Airbnb host. So the education still needs to continue.
No, I totally agree. I'm 100% with you on that. But I also think there's a lot of people that don't realize that how difficult it is to actually create a business on their own, which is probably why they don't want to list. And I do think there's a lot of people that do want to have a platform like Airbnb to list on where they don't have to do any work. But those days I feel like are dwindling down where you list on a property. Because what other business, like I'm just thinking about this out loud right now. What other business can you put something on and start making money right away? And most businesses, it takes 3 to 5 years to start making money. Like Google it right now. Anybody listening to this or watching this, go Google that. It literally takes 5 years for a company, if you're not bankrupt by then or go out of business, to start making money.
Yeah.
And people have been doing this for years, Mark.
Yeah.
Literally.
This is where, I think the big misconception of what I talk about is that I'm saying you need to go cold turkey on the OTAs, go cold turkey on Airbnb. But I couldn't be further from the truth. For me personally, it is as dangerous going 100% direct bookings than it is going 100% Airbnb. Yeah. You need to have multiple revenue streams coming into your business. And we are very fortunate in the world of hospitality where you can start a business today. You can go take a couple of pictures on your iPhone, upload it to 1 or 2 websites, and depending on market and depending on time of the year, pretty much be guaranteed to get revenue coming in. So that is a blessing, 100% a blessing.
Right.
When you start a business, as you know, there are so many spinning plates that are going on right now. And if you can just have that marketing plate just being taken care of by somebody, fantastic. But the problem is this, is that the more that you rely on Airbnb to take care of that spinning plate of marketing, then you become lazy and you become over-reliant.
Yep.
And then what happens if Airbnb knocks that plate off? And that could be in real world terms, they pause your listing. That you could have a couple of really bad reviews. The algorithm changes as it did last year. And all of a sudden, you go from page 1 to page 3 and nobody ever goes to page 3. Yep. People, the old saying is you might as well go look for hide a dead body there because no one's going to go to page 3. And if that happens, and if you are so reliant on one platform, bringing in your revenue where all of a sudden, just in the space of 3 months, you've gone from being fully booked to being 20% booked because of market conditions and all of those things, it's not a good place to be. And unfortunately, over the years that I've done this, I've seen it. And people come to me when it's too late. They come to me when they are so reactive. They're so far down the line and they say, listen, what do I do here?
Down.
And this is why it's important that we all start doing this now, because the problem is if we continue to be reactive, if we continue to sit on our hands, then your business could be in that position. And it may be absolutely rosy now. It may be absolutely perfect right now. But if you keep being reactive and if you just keep waiting for the pings to come in and you don't do any new business, then that's when problems happen.
I love that. Yeah, and that's something that I talk about. Just so you know, Mark, and everybody watching this, I was in a market or am in a market that was regulated. And all of a sudden, just like that, every single listing that was on our market was turned off. We all received cease and desist letters, and we were closed down. We couldn't operate for months because the city didn't know what they were doing. So I could tell you right now that if I didn't have a secondary form, and I was already operating as a midterm rental for quite some time, and I like Airbnb and short-term rentals. I do both of those. If I didn't have that to fall back on, all the 11, actually at that time we had, I think 12 properties in the market. I would have been shit out of luck. Like literally, I would have had to start all over. And a lot of people in the market did. So that's why I think it's important to really start thinking about, ancillary ways to build revenue. So right now, and to connect with companies and to get emails and to, do this. And this is something you become an expert at. So like right now, Mark, what are 3 tips that somebody could do to start building, grabbing additional clients or even people that stay with them in the past? What are some tips that you'd give to somebody right now?
The first things first is start building a list. And whenever I say a list, people get really confused. They start to think that they're going to have to do, pay money to Google ads or Facebook ads. It's absolutely free. So Google Forms is a fantastic resource. It's 100% free. It's super simple to use. And all you have to do is to create a form. On there, you ideally want first name, last name, email address. So obviously you can contact them, cell phone number. If you want to go a little bit fancy, I love to collect their postal address. So you can put in postal address or, home address on there as well. And what I really like is you ask 2 questions. Number 1 is what are you coming to our area for? So what is the main reason you are coming to Orlando? What is the main reason you are coming to Houston? What is the main reason you're coming to X, Y, and Z? And then the second question is, what was the key deciding factor in why you choose to book with us? Because what you're doing right there is that you are surveying the guests at the point of booking. Now, I was really lucky. We had a 14-bedroom guest house. We had 3 holiday cottages. And we used to do the meet and greet. We used to check everybody in and show them to their room or to their cottage.
Yep.
I interviewed everybody. As I'm walking from the reception to the room, I would chat to everybody, and I would just love to ask them questions. That was my market research right there. I was asking them all those things. Oh, so how did you find us? How did you discover us? What you're in the area for? Yada, yada, yada. Now, a lot of people don't have that opportunity, or they're not as extrovert as I. So the best thing to do is to put it on a Google form, and people will fill it in. Now, you've got your Google form. Again, if you want a template, all you need to do is send me an email, mark@boostly.co.uk. I've got a template that I give out to everybody, totally free, no opt-in. Just send me an email and just say, hey, can I have access to that Google form? That's free. Then what you got to do is you got to figure out where to place it. So the best thing that you can do right there and then, doesn't matter whether you've got a direct booking website or not, is you grab the link to your Google form and you go and place it in the confirmation booking message. Now, if you're all fancy and you've got a property management software tool, obviously you will know that you've got email templates in there. So you can put those templates that I either sent out in an email or sent out in an on-platform message. You can put it in there. If you've not yet progressed further than Airbnb, you can have it as your on-platform message. A big comeback and kickback to me here is, well, I thought you can't put links in a message. You 100% absolutely can. Airbnb confirmed it as their new messaging, and their new messaging platform kicks in as of the 1st of October. Links are absolutely fine. So mostly you'd put a link to your digital guidebook, but you can also put links to your Google form.
Yeah.
So the way that I would use the copy here, really key, is you'd go, hey, Jesse, thank you so much for booking your stay with us on, insert date, insert property. And then you put in capital letters, important. Please read the following, please fill in our guest check-in form. It will help speed up your check-in process. Because at the end of the day, you got to tap into the mindset of a guest. If they're driving 2, 3, 4 hours, or if they're flying in and they've got kids in the back, the last thing that they want to do is have a really slow check-in process once they get to the property.
Right.
Hotels have massively helped with this mindset, so they're going to fill it in. So they're going to open the form. It's literally a couple of questions, they fill it in. And the cool thing about that is that if you can get 10 people to fill that in, right, you've then got 10 bits of data. So you've got their name, you've got their cell number, which is great. You've got their email address, you've got the postal address if you want to put anything in the post to them, which we can come back to. But you've also got the answer to those 2 questions, which is key, because so many business owners, I don't care whether they're at day 1 or day 100 or day 1,000 into their business, they wing it for the first 3 to 5 years, as you alluded to. And so if I was to ask most business owners, why do people shop with you? What's the main reason why people buy from you? Or why are guests coming to the area? They look at me blankly because they haven't got a clue. So this work here is going to start to help build out your avatar, your niche, why people are booking with you. And we've been testing this with a chap in Orlando over the course of the last 6 months. He's called Kearney. He's got one property in Orlando, started fresh, December 2022, because I'm putting together a YouTube documentary this year, and we're going to be filming his journey as part of that.
Yeah.
And we put this exact same thing in. And what he realized is that there was one key reason why people were booking, which he didn't really realize it at the time, and it was his games room, because he's got a decked out games room with like murals on the wall, projectors, and all those cool things. And that's the reason why people were booking. So we were able to amend his listing. We were able to amend his marketing to suit. And we realized that the reason why all of his guests were coming to Orlando were birthday, because he's got a 14-bedroom property. So it's like, birthday parties, reunions.
Yeah.
And so what we did is we just amended his marketing, amended his wording, amended his listings to suit that. And we got all of that from data. So the one thing I want to pass on to everybody, which is really key, is what gets tracked gets measured. So you've got to start getting the data to be able to make those proper business owner decisions.
I love that, man. It's just something as simple as just asking a couple questions. And a lot of times Airbnb guests will actually tell you in their first, when they book, they'll say like, coming into town for a conference or whatever, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
So, essentially if you have a VA or somebody, they can input that information, but you want to have somebody follow a template and guideline so that once that's done, you can measure all that stuff over time. You can compare guest A to guest B to guest C to guest, and see what the commonality is there.
Yeah.
So I love that, man. That's a very simple tactic that is measurable and that you can find out what your typical clients are coming in. Again, most people, you're right, you just brought this up. Most people that create a business don't know why they're even doing it. Like, they don't ask themselves the questions like, why is somebody going to want to stay with me? How often do I want to have people with me? Am I able to handle more? Am I able to bring on more properties? What's my outlook for the next year? And I think that, I would say the 75% of the business owners that I talk to don't even have those answers either, Mark.
Yeah.
So I urge everybody right now, listen to what Mr. Mark is saying here. I just called you Mr. Mark, by the way. Yeah, I mean, it's measure your stuff. Like, just start thinking about your actual business. And I think this is where we ask other people. This is a very common human trait. I'm meeting you, Mark. I'm going to ask you all about yourself. I'm going to ask you all these things you have going on about your business. But most people don't actually sit down with a pen, a paper, and ask themselves the same questions that they're asking people that they meet.
100%. And the cool thing is that those that are watching this, listen, like to this right now, you could actually implement this into your business before we've even finished this recording, because it takes 5 minutes to do. It literally is 5 minutes to create the form, grab the link, go to Airbnb, put it in your welcome message, and it's super, super simple to do. And if you want to, for the next 6 months, you could just sit on that data. You could just collect it and sit on it and do nothing with it. Obviously, like the proactive action taker in me would love for you to, grab that data, use something like Zapier to put it into your CRM, start emailing people, start messaging people, start calling people. But, for those that just want to go slowly, just start building the data. Because the cool thing is let's just say for whatever reason, your Airbnb account gets shut down 6 months down the line or a year down the line. Well, guess what? You've got a year's worth of guest data right there that you can pick up the phone and say, hey, we're only taking direct bookings now, or we've shifted over to Verbo. If you want to book with us in the future, here's our direct booking link. Here's our Verbo link. Here's X, Y, and Z. And you get the power of that when you've got a list. But the list is absolutely crucial key. I've been doing this since day one of Boostly. We've built it up to 20,000 emails right now. It took me forever to get to 1,000. It took forever to get to 5,000. It took forever to get to 10,000. But slowly but surely, this compounds over time. So, if Boostly, for whatever reason, if we were to disappear off Facebook, if we were to disappear off Instagram, if we were to go absolutely wherever we were to go, I've got 20,000 people that I can message right now and say, hey, we're now over here. Yeah. And that is so powerful to have.
Yeah, I love that, man. Because again, a lot of people build their businesses and not understand that, we said it earlier, you're building your house on somebody else's land.
Yeah.
Instagram, I was relying on Instagram or anything else, and that went away. And it can. That happened to a lot of people that operate on the Airbnb platform. Their listings go away. They get shut down. A neighbor complains about something. The city comes in and closes it down. I think this is a matter of when. That's my truthful opinion.
Yeah.
Anybody that's in a gray area that's not regulated right now, it's going to happen to a certain degree sometime. And if you're not ready for it, you could potentially lose, your business. And creating and buying real estate it's hard. It's not easy. Building businesses is hard.
Yeah.
So I think we really have to have that mindset that, let's start thinking ahead. Let's skate to where the puck is going. That's a very, thing that I like to think about on a regular basis. Where is this market going? Where's it heading? How can I get there before everybody else? And you're exactly preaching, to me on this. And I'm with you on it.
Preaching to the choir.
Preaching to the choir. There you go.
Well, just imagine as well, let's set the scenario. You've got a short-term rental business, you've got 3 properties, and all of a sudden you just can no longer do it, right? And your Airbnb listing gets shut down. Scenario A is that you don't take any of this advice on, you stay on the Airbnb land, and that happens. Scenario B is that you start collecting data, you start collecting emails, phone numbers, or whatever, and the same thing happens. Scenario B, you can then, really get your new business hat on, flip your model to where you appeal to contractors, healthcare workers, the MTR strategy, and you can call every single one of your guests who stayed with you in the past and just say, hey, I just want to say thank you so much for being a guest of us in the past. You may be aware that, short-term rentals are now banned in our area. What we're now doing is we are now appealing to and working exclusively with healthcare workers or anybody who's coming into the town for business for more than 30 days. Do you know anyone who would this appeal to? And that's so important, those little 4 words. You're not asking the guest to buy from you. All you're asking the question is, hey, do you know anyone? Because, the saying is there's 6 degrees of separation. The power of social media brings it down to 2. And all you've got to do is ask the question, hey, do you know anybody? Because you never know. That guest may be part of a big corporation, or they may be the booking agent or a PA for a healthcare or whatever. And they go, yeah, well, actually we do. We've got staff that are coming to the area all the time looking for like a longer term stays. But you cannot do that without the list.
Yeah.
Right? If you just rely on Airbnb, you're screwed because you've literally got to start all over again. But if the scenario B is where you've just sat on 6 months or 12 months worth of data, you can just, eat glass for a couple of days, pick up the phone, call, and before you know it, you could have all your properties filled with people staying for 30, 40, 60, 90 days. But you only get that from list.
Yep.
You only get that from your list.
Yeah, you're so right, man. And again, that's you and I are similar in a lot of ways when it comes to that. Like I built my business off of going, connecting with companies, finding who is the source and creating relationships and then having them be part of, that reciprocal relationship where we had housing that was comfortable, accommodating, and we were solving problems for the agencies that we're connected to.
Yes.
And I think that's essentially what it comes down to. What problems are we able to solve? And we watch all these people that are super successful, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, and I'm not comparing myself to them or any to them, but I'm saying like what they're doing is solving a billion problems, which is why they make so much money. So I think that being able to solve problems is such an advantage to a lot of people. But again, you have to have that mindset to start thinking about like, what problems can I solve?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's really, really important. So this is another thing too. I know that I don't want to continue to flip subjects, but you've been, so just so you guys know, Mark has his own podcast. He creates websites. He's an educator in the space. He's somebody that I look up to on a regular basis. I'm actually having a website built with your company right now, which I'm excited to get going. And I always talk about how important it is that you at least have a landing page or something showing that you have properties in availability. So can you kind of dive in real quick, the power of what a direct booking website can do for somebody?
And I'm really excited to get the website live. We've got our team working on it behind the scenes, which is super cool. But a direct booking website is basically your online branding. So you want to be able to be in a coffee shop or at a conference or wherever, and you could meet somebody and they go, hey, what do you do? And you give them the business card, it's got the domain on it. You want to be confident at giving your website because it's that online first impression of you, your business, and your brand. I always liken it to when a guest first steps foot into your property. We all set up our properties to have that wow factor, that amazing, wow when they first walk in. And so your website is that digital representation of your brand, is that when it opens up, you want someone to go, wow, this is a really good looking website. Because if you've got a website that is slow loading, if it's, all over the place, it's really confusing, they're going to leave your website before it even loads.
Right.
And it's the same as your property. When they walk through the door, if it's really confusing where to go, if it's a little bit messy, if, X, Y, and Z, they're going to have a really bad experience. They're going to turn out and leave. And once they leave, they never come back. And when I first started Boostly in 2016, I never ever thought that we would have website design as part of what we do. I wanted to be an educator. The mission is to help 1 million hosts and all of that cool things. And I was going to get there through doing coaching and courses and all those things. But the more that Boostly grew, and we got to about 1,000 members at this point, and the biggest complaint that we had coming back was, Mark, it works. I know what you're saying, but I can't make the change to my website, or I can't do this on my website, or my website designer has vanished and disappeared. Or one of the best ones was my website designer is now in prison. So I can't now get hold of him. So I said, well, okay, if nobody out there is doing websites, and we started to look around and we started to recommend a few people, but they had a bad experience. I thought, well, let's do it ourselves. I know how to put a website together. And I was very fortunate at this point. Again, the Boostly journey has had these inflection points, and I've been so lucky to have people come into my world at these certain specific times that has mean that it's like gone off like a rocket ship. And in 2017, that was meeting Tom O'Brien in Bali. So me and my family were traveling. We did like 3 months around Southeast Asia, and we're in Bali. And I met this guy called Tom O'Brien, who is now our CTO. During that time, a host came to me and said, Mark, design me a website. And I was like, brilliant, I can do this, no problem. I said, right, give me a day. And I did it for a day. I looked at it and this is crap. This is awful. And this doesn't look like I want it to look. Yeah. I showed Tom, because we're staying in the same resort, and within 5 minutes, he tweaked it into a masterpiece. Turns out Tom was an ex-iBeef and DJ, and he was doing the nightlife scene of there, loved a bit of web design, like a designer at heart, started doing it for side projects. And lo and behold, when I asked him for help, it was amazing. So I basically just started working with him. I paid him for every website, and it's grown and grown and grown now to the point of where we've got, it's just shy of 2,000 websites. And what we do different to most, and what is I'd like to say our secret sauce, our Coca-Cola secret sauce, is the partnerships that we have built with the property management software providers. Hostfully, Hostaway, Guesty, Uplisting, Zeevoo, IGMS, Lodgify. We've got 20 different partnerships, and we're adding a new one every single month. We've just added Journey in this month, for example. And what we do when we create these partnerships is that we get access to their booking engine. So that means that we can connect our websites to their booking engine. So it means it's a fantastic user experience. And this is what every other website designer doesn't have. And it just means that when a guest lands on our sites, you're more likely to turn a looker into a booker. And that's the whole thing. And the problem that I see so many people do is that they try and create their website like the Mona Lisa. They want their website to be the best looking website. But if you were to be truthfully honest, if you look at booking.com, if you look at Verbo, if you look at Airbnb, they are shocking looking websites. They just work. It has all been designed to get you from A to B as soon as possible. And that's what we literally mimic and replicate with our sites. And we've just launched version 3 of what we're doing, which has got ChatGPT built in, which means now we can create our websites in half the time as what it used to, which is really, really exciting and powerful. You know
what, man? I'm getting goosebumps right now. We're talking about this because I'm excited to have a direct booking site. And for anybody that's short-term operating or mid-term operating, you want to have a booking website where I can send it directly to an agent or a recruiter or a healthcare individual or even an agency, an insurance company. Them look at it and then them actually book that property. Depending on who you're talking to, whether they book it or send a link, and you have it all connected to your channel manager. I can't tell you how important that is, because what we have to do is go and put an API information in, block that off, and then I have to have another backend team member go and do a completely different thing. So we have to we're working on 3 different platforms to do this. So I'm excited to be able to integrate with our property management software, so that we have a one-stop shop to essentially do everything. Because to run there's not really any midterm rental software out there right now either. There's really not anything. There's Appfolio and some stuff for long-term that you can use for midterm, because again, at the end of the day, people are booking for, 3 months, 6 months, a month, whatever it is. But if you're operating short-term rentals or you have in-between days, that can be cumbersome and scary. You don't want to have double bookings because those suck. Yeah. Trust me, I've had plenty of them, especially when I first started off. And you just mentioned something to me that I really love. And I was actually hoping to keep this interview under 30 minutes, but I want to dive into this now. You've tapped into something so amazing when it comes to AI. I think a lot of people talk about AI. Not very many people are using it on a regular basis. So let's just kind of skim the surface on this. I've learned so much about AI from you, Mark. You could come into my class, talk to me and the students, and we've talked about it. And I think this is where you're starting to implement AI, and you're even bringing it into your own software. So tell us a little bit about your thought process behind AI and why you feel it's such an important process that everybody should be thinking about and utilizing right now.
I think the best way to describe it, because there is a lot of hype around. You can't open up YouTube nowadays or listen to a podcast without them talking about AI, even it's making the news now. And I feel like it's affecting the business owner level of where we are in the world. And the best way to describe how it will help any business owner is it will help you save time. For us at Boostly, we can cut a website build down from 12 weeks to 6 weeks. That's half in it, which is phenomenal. So the costs and everything just lowers, which means that we can keep our prices low, which then impacts our customers, which is fantastic. But also as well, we can grow our company by 20-30% without having to go on a massive hiring spree, which for anybody who has hired before, you know how painful it is every single time. We're now, for a bit of context, we're touching 50 members of staff at Boostly behind the scenes. We've got a big team behind us. But I can see the vision of Boostly growing another 20-30% without going, to 75 members of staff, all down to AI and ChatGPT. So it's a massive time-saving tool. The other element of it is that imagine having the world's cleverest person working with you 24/7, doesn't get ill, doesn't have time off, doesn't sleep, doesn't need to be paid, doesn't have any of those problems. And then imagine that times 1,000. And that's what you've got with ChatGPT version 4, which is where we are right now. That is literally what you've got. Anything that has ever been put online, he can have access, or she can have access, or they can have access to it. That little robot can have access to it within seconds. And that is very, very, very powerful. Now, everybody knows it right now as ChatGPT, OpenAI, maybe Bard, or whatever. But it is so much more. OpenAI, which is the company that has started this phenomenon, they've opened up their API, which now means third-party tools can tap into ChatGPT, which is what Boostly have done.
Great.
But not only Boostly, pretty much any software that you use nowadays has got it built in some way, shape, or form. Whether it is Loom, you record loads of Loom videos, whether you are using Google Docs, Gmail is going to have it in very soon. If you use Bing, Microsoft, it's even going to come in soon to Google search, right? So it's going to be everywhere. Tim Cook was, when he launched their new sort of product that they're going to be rolling out to everybody, the interviewer sat him down and talked about AI. And he said, we're going to bring in ChatGPT and more AI. He didn't specifically say ChatGPT or AI specifically, but he said, we're going to bring it more into our products, but you, the consumer, won't even realize it. And you can do this right now. If you go into, say, LinkedIn, and you've got somebody who sent you a message, you'll notice that there are options below where they will automatically respond for you. This is AI coming into our world. And again, it's affecting everybody on a business level. The next wave is where it affects your guests, the consumers, the everyday, your mums, your pops, the person at the grocery store. That is when it's going to get really interesting. Because again, if it's saving business owners time now, imagine what it looks like at a consumer level. I was watching the My First Million podcast a couple of weeks ago, and they were saying that what's going to happen, the next $1 trillion idea is going to be a company that creates a to-do list that actually does your to-do list, which is extremely, extremely powerful. My prediction is by the end of next year, I've got an Alexa device next to me. I've got Siri on my phone. We've got a Google Home downstairs. These voice activation devices, they're going to get a massive upgrade. And they're going to be able to do a heck of a lot more than what they currently can do now. At the moment, if you were to talk to your Amazon Alexa, the conversation is poor. The user experience is poor. It's awful. But imagine this have ChatGPT running through it. Just imagine what it could do. It could order your groceries. It could book flights. It can choose your accommodation and all of those stuff. And the example I gave when I came onto the mastermind to chat to the students, and this is where it brings it right back to hospitality, where it brings it right back to direct bookings, is just imagine right now, you were to go to your, say, Amazon Alexa, and say, I'm going to have to put it on mute because it'll kick in otherwise, and just say, right, Alexa, I need for you to find me a place in Nashville. It's going to be 200 yards away from downtown. My budget is $100 a night. It needs to sleep 2 people. You know what I like, right? Go and find me that. And this robot won't care about brand allegiance. It won't care about Airbnb. It won't care about Expedia or Vrbo. It's going to look for the best price and the best reviews. And if you do your direct booking pricing strategy correctly, then every single time it will bring back your website and your results. And all it will say to me is, Mark, I found this place, $100 a night, perfect. Would you like me to go ahead and book it? And you'll say, yeah, absolutely. So this is why it's really important with your direct booking pricing strategy. What I mean by that is that on your property management software tool, whatever you're using, have it as your base rate is your base rate. Let's just call it $100 a night just for easy maths. And then what you do on your PMS and your channel manager, you go, right, the rate at Airbnb will be $120 a night. The rate on Expedia is $130 a night. The rate on Booking.com is $140 a night. So the price is always best when they book direct. And then you have that, you religiously have that, you talk about it nonstop in your marketing, you talk about it, oh, stop, yada, yada, yada. And then when that robot does that crawl of Google or crawl of the internet, it's always going to bring up your direct booking site. And that's literally how you win this game.
Man, I love that. Like right now, my brain is spinning. I've talked to you about this, and I think maybe we talked about it in my master class when you came in. I can't wait for the day where we are able to tailor fit to a guest. So say like Mark Simpson is going to be staying at my property, and there's AI that's integrated. All of a sudden it goes in, scrapes Mark Simpson's information, finds Mark Simpson, finds his favorite beer, right? His favorite English beer that he likes, finds his favorite Beatles album, finds his favorite movies, fans of favorite shows. And all of a sudden, Mark comes into my property, opens the front door, and guess what's playing as he walks in? His favorite Beatles song is playing in the background. His favorite Irish beer is in the fridge. His favorite, albums are in a queue. That's where I feel like hospitality is going, where it's very specific to the person. And I think that, and now that we're talking about this, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it, by the way. That's where hospitality is going, man. Like, I love the concept, your idea, how you think about this stuff. I truly feel it's the same way too. I actually can't wait for for that to happen. It's like the movie Her, right? You've talked about this.
Yeah, definitely. Scarlett Johansson. Yeah.
I look forward to that. I know people are like, AI is going to take over and whatever, but I'm truly I like sci-fi. First off, I think that's part of the thing. But I'm intrigued by science and technology and humanity kind of coming together. Obviously, with some sort of you don't want it to be Mr. Robot or iRobot, right? That movie.
I truly agree. I truly agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, I love it, man. So what are some tips, because I know we're getting ready to kind of wrap this up. What are a few tips that you can talk about right now that can help people with their short-term and midterm rental business that are AI related?
So first things first, go and just play with the technology. So an easy win that everybody can do is go on to, say, ChatGPT, OpenAI, okay? Go and pay the $20 a month that it is for ChatGPT 4, which is the better version. You can do ChatGPT 3.5 that is free, or pay for 4. Just pay for a month. And then go and grab your Airbnb title, for example, and just load it in there, paste it in, and say, give me 5 different variations of this title for my Airbnb listing. Then go and grab the description and put that in there and say, hey, tweak this based on X, Y, and Z. And what you can then start to do is start to play with it. And then once you start playing with it, then you can go, okay, well, let me think about what an email could be. So again, in that same thread that you're doing for your ChatGPT, you go, all right, well, write me a social media post based around my Airbnb listing. And then say, write me an email. And just start playing with it, and you can start to see the effectiveness of how quick it is. And then you can start to go slowly more down the rabbit hole on that. But my main tip is just to go and start playing. Obviously, if you're part of Jesse's mastermind, there's a full 1.5-hour video. We went into everything. I showed you the latest tools. I showed you some tactics. We went through everything backwards and beyond, and all of the good things. So yeah, obviously you have to go and check out that if you're in a mastermind. If not, go and join that, because but my main advice to everybody who isn't yet is just go and start playing with it. Go start chatting to it. Go chatting to it, and just seeing how you can tweak everything that you've already got out there.
I love that, man. Yeah, there's so much happening in this space. I think that, again, as small business owners, there's so much potential that we can tap into by connecting with, Google. I like Bard. I like Bard more than OpenAI. Maybe I mean, that's just me personally, but we use it right now. We're using it for newsletters. Obviously, we have to put our own stuff in there. We're adding our own kind of our fresh take from it, but it's giving us a script. We're changing it, rearranging it. I liked it to be personal. We're using it for, descriptions. We're using it for adding template stuff together. There's stuff that we buy that are outside. There's a company called Hoppy Copy. I don't know if you've heard of them at all, Mark. So they do a lot of editing, newsletters. They'll create stuff that looks really cool, kind of like what Alex Hormozy or Cody Sanchez has. They have these beautiful newsletters, and they'll put stuff together that's very similar to that. Obviously, same kind of flavor. We want to have our own voice. It is so cool, man. I think that's where saving time for an entrepreneur or business owner is going to exponentially help you grow. And again, it's putting people in place that are, where you're able to spend the time doing things that you're uniquely qualified to do, and everything else can be outsourced, where your team can actually, just like you said, having somebody with you 24/7 that you can utilize and connect with. So yeah, man, I'm excited about it. And I'm glad that you're starting to integrate this stuff in your own business, because, and your own website, where people are going to be able to utilize that. But I like the fresh take. I like that you're thinking outside the box. I think that every smart entrepreneur should have that mindset from day one and adapt these technologies that are coming in, because I mean, at the end of the day, if you're not using them, you're missing out on the opportunities that you can help grow yourself, talk to other people about it, and help them understand what this market could do for them too.
100%. Perfect. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Mark, where can folks find you at?
So the best thing to do would be go to Instagram, which is at Boostly UK. Go on there, go check that out. Go and see what we're doing. There's tons and tons and tons of videos on there. And then from there, it'll take you to the website, the YouTube channel. And if you want to book a call, you can 100% do so via boostly.co.uk.
Yeah, and Mark is a fellow YouTuber. He's got a podcast. You're doing it all, man. You're educating a lot of people, getting people in the space, understanding it. So make sure you guys go follow Mark Simpson at Boostly. If you need a website done, head over there, connect with him. But Mark, I appreciate you for being here, man. There's been a lot of great conversation that we've had today, and I look forward to maybe even doing a part 2 where we dive in a little bit more on the AI side. But appreciate you, man.
Thank you very much for having me.